All right, hey everybody, Matt here from Around Square with a quick little preview of the stuff that's coming up in our January 2021 product launch. I'm going to start with a whole range of Ultras. So one of the kind of stars of the Ultra series from last year was the 10 millimeter titanium version, fondly referred to as the deckeyes. These guys were really a big hit initially and sold out, so I had to reproduce them, and they sold out a couple of times. And I decided this time to make a little bit bigger investment in them and to blast out a whole range of different colors. So bringing them in what's kind of become our go-to product, our color range for titanium. So we're doing the much anticipated black PVD Shinobi version, the pretty stunning multicolor sunset version, and the golden colored business class. These three are all PVD coated. So the PVD is actually like super durable. They will scratch and ding up over time, but it's like the kind of the most robust type of coating that we can provide on something like this. Then I've got also a blue anodized version. The blue ano also holds up pretty good. It's anodizing onto titanium, and the titanium doesn't scratch that easily, right? What you'll see with the blue is it's initially quite saturated. As soon as you start playing it, you'll see that your fingerprints and stuff will dull the color a little bit, but it'll remain blue. Don't worry, it doesn't end up erasing much further. Like, it stabilizes after a day or two, and then it'll remain this kind of light, kind of bluish gray, until it wears like through scratches and stuff. They will all sort of trend towards a tumbled finish over time. None of them are permanent coatings, but they do last surprisingly well from my experience. Then we've got also a lightly sandblasted titanium natty version. This it was sandblasted with like a pretty fine media, so it's not scratchy feeling like some of the stuff that I sandblast here myself with a coarse media. It feels still comfortable to wear on the wrist and stuff. It's just got that kind of like duller gray color compared to the polished natty. All right. So that's it for the deckeyes. They're all titanium, so they're the same spec, same weight and everything as the previous version. Then moving on, we got the smaller size now, the 8 millimeter version, which I was pretty hyped about because even after playing the deckeyes, I was really curious to try something that would be a little bit lighter, a little bit more nimble, and these guys delivered on that. They're very, very light. They still are smooth on the string and so on, but they just, because they're so light, they actually feel and play a little bit more like what you're used to with begleri. Like I've found that if I actually keep a longer string on this, I can do a lot of my begleri tricks no problem, compared to, for example, the original Ultras, which, like, good luck unless you've got like Hercules fingers. You're not gonna get very far lugging these around through a bunch of the intricate tricks. But these guys are surprisingly nimble, and we're offering these in titanium, which is very light, and then also in stainless steel, copper, and brass and copper. Okay, these guys all have, not sure how well it'll show, they all have a machine finish. It almost looks like a brushed finish. It's got that kind of texture to it. But the softer metals in particular, that bangs out pretty quickly, and it'll just look like every other copper or brass product that I sell. It gets that kind of tumbled look over time. And these guys, they're definitely the lightest of the Ultras that I sell in these materials, but they have a little bit more weight, so they feel more substantial to play. They've got just a satisfying heft to them. And all of them, though, like I really enjoy all of these, and playing the Ultras actually has gotten me more into the other metals, the brass and copper and stainless steel, than I was previously. I used to be like pure Thai. I would only play Thai stuff, but I actually genuinely like the other metals in the Ultras. Okay. Then what's probably going to end up being the star of the show is this new model of Ultras, which is, I don't have a better name for it, so I've ended up kind of calling it the Mini Sigma style beads. I think I got a set of Sigmas on me here somewhere. No, I don't know where I put them. Oh, here they are. Yeah, so the shape of the beads you can probably see is very similar. This kind of like short, rounded cylinder shape. It's actually not just a scaled down Sigma. It's a unique design that I created independently of the Sigmas, and it's the first bead that I really have done purpose built for the Ultras. All of the other beads from the originals, which were made of micro bosses, to the nanos, which were our nano standards. All of these models were using beads that I already had in-house. Then I sized down to the 10 millimeter and the 8 millimeter spheres, but those are just spheres, right? Like they're nothing out of the ordinary. So this is the first bead that I have specifically designed for the purpose of making a set of Ultras. And the goal with these beads was to make something that would feel very comfortable to wear on the wrist. So it accomplishes that. It's very smooth and flat on the wrist, and it's got a low profile. They're only 9 millimeters diameter. So it's quite comfortable and like unobtrusive on the wrist, but then also to be very satisfying for the raindrops. So I wanted like I found that with some of the rounder beads, the shape of them, it makes it easy to do the raindrops, but as they pass through the fingers, it's a bit of a different feel, and I really liked the feel of raindrops with the nanos. It's very smooth. You don't have that bump as you're going over each rounded surface. And so I wanted to replicate that with these beads, but I wanted more beads, because the more beads, the more drops, right? So I did that, and I also wanted to round them out a little bit more. I felt like the edges of the nano beads were sometimes a little bit sharp for the raindrops. Not that bad, but if you're doing it for hours a day, that scratchiness was not my favorite thing about the shape. So basically, I did all of that with these beads, and they totally delivered for me. So this set has actually become my daily driver. This is the set that I carry on me every day. I've replaced the 12 millimeter boss bead, micro boss, with one of the low bosses in Circuitai, just because, it's my company. I got to show off the goods, right? But this is on me all the time, and I'm playing with it constantly. And this is, I think people are going to love this shape of bead, this style of bead. One thing I do have to say is that price-wise, although they're smaller in size, diameter, than the originals, they're down close to the size of the nanos. The nanos are like, I think 7.8 millimeters diameter, and these are 9 millimeters diameter. So they're right down there, but the cost to produce them is actually way up. And the reason is, they're custom designed, custom produced beads. So anytime you're doing custom stuff rather than something that a supplier might have in stock already, like a round bead, you're paying for custom machine setup and stuff. And then also there's 31 beads in here. So that's the most beads that I have on any set of Ultras. And so you're taking the per bead cost and you're multiplying it by 31 compared to whatever these guys are, like 17 or something. Okay, so it's the price-wise, they're going to be a bit more expensive than what you might expect. They are going to be up around the price of the original size Ultras. So just keep that in mind when you're anticipating what's going to come from the drop. I do have these guys available in brass, copper, and stainless steel as well. These guys have all been lightly tumbled. I did that to achieve a kind of a custom, the consistent color, because everything's made from different manufacturers or different production batches. So I needed to give them a little bit of a tumble to get the colors to match nicely. And I think we did a pretty good job with that. On the heavy metals, brass, stainless steel, and copper, I have bored out the micro boss to 3.6 millimeter diameter. So it's a little bit easier to slide on the string than some of the earlier production that was 3.5 millimeter. Okay, so that's that for all of the Ultras. Now that last set of beads, those mini Sigmas, that's not something that I had originally planned to make begleri out of, but people were asking about it, and so just out of curiosity, I actually strung some up. Prior to people asking me, I didn't even bother trying to string them out because I didn't think they'd be that fun. But they actually turned out really kind of neat and interesting. So I'm going to put these up available. I'm not doing any fancy like mixes and matches of them, but I'm going to put them available in the stainless steel, copper, brass, and titanium. Titanium's really light. Like the whole set, including the cord, is under 10 grams. So that's like by far the lightest begleri set that I've got. But the even in titanium, you can still, like, you'd be amazed, like you can still do all of your tricks, right? And it just takes a little bit of a different timing, and I don't know, you may want to use a little bit of a softer cord rather than some of the stiff stuff, but it's actually, you know, with a little bit of time to get used to it, it's actually, it's not actually that much different from the regular play with the other sets. What is different about this is that the beads are so small, they fit right between the fingers. You've got very little shelf to work with. What I mean by that is that the portion that comes out at 90 degrees from the cord, if you're manipulating the beads during tricks, that shelf means that you can just push up with one of the fingers and, you know, bring it around and catch it. You need to use a little bit more of an exaggerated motion with these beads because you don't have much shelf, so you're actually kind of coming up along the bead and moving the bead along. It just means that when you're doing tricks, you're manipulating more from the side of the bead that runs parallel to the cord rather than manipulating the top of the bead. Again, it's just like a little bit of a difference in play, but it's, you know, especially if you're just going for something casual, these beads are super fun. And what I've found is I'm actually throwing them in my pocket alongside something else because they take up no space. They're super light, kind of perfect as a keychain set or just something extra to throw in the car or to keep in your jacket pocket or something. Okay. Then the last thing I want to mention for the drop is the new small stepped deadeyes. So I've got these available in brass, copper, stainless steel, and titanium. And just want to show you the size differences. So compared to the original size stepped deadeye, they're substantially smaller. They're actually a little bit bigger than the small original deadeye. Okay, and then the biggest of all is the original deadeyes in the large size. So my goal with these guys, the new small step deadeyes, was to make something that's a little bit thinner, which it is, a little bit thinner and a little bit sized more towards what people who do traditional coin tricks and sleight of hand stuff are doing. So I've been working on my back of the knuckle coin rolls, which I never really did with the original deadeyes. And I'm looking forward to learning some of the, you know, the muscle pass and some of the sleight of hand tricks. You know, the rectangular edges on this give you a little bit more grip when you're doing like isolation or like whatever the positions are to hide the coin and that sort of thing. Gives you something a little bit more grippy than the rounded edges of the original shape deadeye. But what I found with the small original deadeyes is that a lot of people were saying they found it a little bit hard to do the isolation style moves. And so I sized these ones up a little bit compared to the small originals. And I find they actually work just fine for the isolation contact coin style play. So this has kind of replaced all of the other deadeyes for me. I carry a titanium one in my pocket. I do find the isolations a little bit easier with the heavier coins, but I like how light this one is, and means that when I'm dropping it, I'm not waking up kids and that sort of thing. So anyways, out of the whole collection, what I find myself carrying the most are these new Mini Sigma Ultras, the new small stepped deadeye. And I'm still carrying a pair of a set of the original Sigmas, but I've thrown in a set of the Mini Sigmas as well, just for an extra set of begleri to have around. And especially if I'm just wanting to be quiet, these guys are so small, light, unobtrusive, light clacks and so on. All right, so that's it for the range that we're offering. The only other thing to mention is that the Luck Sacks are making a comeback as well. So if you've been waiting a couple of months for Luck Sacks and wondering if they're ever coming back, yes, they are. We're gonna have them in the $20, $50, $100, $150, and $200 range. So yeah, that's round about it. Any questions, hit me up online. And yeah, looking forward to the launch and hearing everybody's feedback on these things. All right. Just in closing out, I'm going to do one little side-by-side comparison. I had meant to with all of the different models of Ultras here. So I got the so we got five bead shapes. So we got the nanos here, the new mini sigmas, the original 11.8 millimeters, then the 10 millimeter decas, and the 8 millimeters. All right. Alrighty. See y'all later.